Let's fucking rock and roll. You come here often?
Dad joke.
Dad jokes. That's how we start. You ready? You nervous?
A little bit.
Yeah, great. It's a high pressure, a high stakes game.
It is.
We're taking no prisoners. But we are literally just going to chat.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of podcasts.
Okay.
We'll just be yourself.
Okay.
We'll try to trigger you as much as possible.
Huh? Trigger me? No, don't trigger me.
100%.
Can I swear?
Yeah, of course. I try not to. I try and be really level-headed most of the time, and I fail consistently.
Okay.
Me being like, oh, and then I go on a tangent. So feel free to do that.
Okay.
All right, good.
Mhm.
Great. Have you been on one? We did the group podcast, didn't we?
No. Oh yeah. You and me did one ages ago. I don't know.
Oh, but then I think when we had the break-in and they stole all the stuff, I don't think we actually.
Oh.
It's never seen the light of day. I think it's stolen.
Oh wow, there's the archive.
It's in the archives.
There you go.
So there's probably some junkies out there learning a lot about you. I shouldn't say junkies. We can edit that out. Probably some criminals. Is that politically correct? I don't know.
I don't know these days. I'm in the age group where I
We
think
can
it
say
does. We
junkies.
can say
We can
yeah,
say junkies.
yeah, and it's like, God bless them.
Yeah, we'll cut all this out anyway. Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
fine. But anyway, well, welcome to your first official episode.
Thank you.
So you're a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah.
All right, enough at ease. So this is going to be the thing that's going to stump you right away. But what you need to do is tell the people listening who you are.
Who I am.
Who are you, Loz?
I am a coach at the Performance Hub in Ringwood.
Very good things about that place, actually.
It's all right.
It's all right.
How far do you want me to go? Like
Deep, as far as a general overview. Who are you? What do you do?
So I'm a coach at the Performance Hub in Ringwood. I don't know what you want me to say. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It would be exactly that. I'm a coach at the Performance Hub. How long have you been coaching for? What's your background? And what are you particularly interested in? Let's go with that.
Okay.
That framework.
I'm a coach at the Performance Hub in Ringwood. I've been in the industry for about, I think, 8 years now, but I've been here for about 3, coming up to 3. I have a background, I have studies in psychology and nutrition, and I have a big interest in the behavioural aspects of nutrition and habit change, I suppose, around those behaviours.
Awesome. And that's pretty much what I'm going to interview / interrogate you on today.
Oh, there you go.
Habit change, behaviour change. Because I think we've done previous episodes on nutrition, and we'll do further episodes on nutrition. But is it fair to say that for, let's say, most of the people we work with, the issue is not necessarily a lack of understanding of nutrition. It's actually finding ways to get them to do the things that they know they probably should be doing.
Yes.
Right. And that's actually probably a harder problem a lot of the time.
Yes.
Because if it was as simple as telling people, yeah, you should eat more vegetables, then, well, great. But it's not.
Yes, exactly. I think a big thing is like people obviously have lives that they're living, very busy lives, and I think that it's very easy for people to, I don't know, get sold this expectation of like how easy it's going to be to shred, 5 kilos and in 6 weeks, and you're going to be on the beach sipping margaritas, living your best life. But it's not actually like that. And these behaviors have obviously taken 30 years sometimes. If you're 30-year-old, this is 30 years to be ingrained, and this thing that's been told to us about 21 days to, reverse a habit, it's just not realistic. If it took them 30 years to get there, it's probably going to take a lot longer to rewire those behaviors.
That's a good distinction, actually, because, that 21 days to build a habit, that was a buzz for a while. And I remember looking at it, I think they did it. I remember it was Cambridge study or something, but they were saying it was a minimum of 66 days.
Okay.
Like, that was the minimum.
Yeah.
And then for some people, it was like a year, 2 years of repeatedly doing the thing. But I like how you phrase that. It's like, if it took you 30 years, it's probably not going to take you 21 days to like, oh, all of a sudden I just drink green tea in the morning and eat raw kale and I'm happy. If only.
Well, if it was that easy, wouldn't we all be?
Yeah, we'd all be shredded all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love it. Love it. And I guess if we go through, so I want to dig into a little bit more of that kind of stuff. But I think it would be great as well if we got a little bit of background on kind of how you got to this point in terms of how you got so interested in the behavior change side of the equation.
Yep.
So, I guess when did you first get involved in health, fitness, nutrition? What was like your first exposure that made you go like, oh, like I want to learn more about that?
I guess I've always had quite a sporty background. And it was a period of time where I wasn't doing much. I got into working with a trainer myself, like a personal trainer. And I think I've mentioned to you before that it wasn't until I started eating better myself. I was training for months and I was kind of getting results. But then it wasn't until I decided to actually eat better, I saw massive changes, like almost straight away. It was like almost a magic pill.
Yep.
There you go. And then that went on for a bit. And then I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago. She actually said to me, like, do you want to do a shred? And I'd never, looked into shreds, or I've never been concerned about my weight or anything like that. But I thought, oh, yeah, why not lose a couple of extra kilos? And it wasn't until I experienced that I got exposed to, I think, what a lot of women get exposed to, in that, you start obsessing about food and you get, as I said before, you get sold this idea that you're going to lose all these kilos like really, really quickly. And the expectation was I was going to look shredded and I was going to be happy and everyone's going to be like, oh my God, you look so amazing. And I was just going to be on top of the moon, over the moon. But the reality was, like, it actually opened me up. I was weighing myself more than I'd ever done in my life. I had anxieties around food when I went out. I wasn't really present at parties. I was more concerned about with, like, can I eat that? Should I eat it? Like, like a spring roll would go past and I'm like, oh my God, that smells so good. But can't eat that. I'm on my shred. Halfway through the shred, a big thing that I grew up doing was takeaway on Friday nights, and I had takeaway on a Friday night and I binged. I had a massive golden box from Fish and Chip Shop.
Delicious.
Delicious. Never cared. But during the shred, I cared. I felt guilty. I felt shame. I felt like, oh, you absolute piece of this. Like, you've absolutely effed this up. Like, what are you doing? I was messaging my trainer, like, my weight's not moving. And yeah, that kind of started this whole thing of, like, I got really interested in, I suppose, where we're at the moment with dieting and, the expectations, especially women, I think I was thinking about it the other day, and I think, like, I even remember when I was like 15, getting exposed to like detox diets in magazines and all that kind of stuff. It's so ingrained in us at such an early age. So, and then, this whole thing about like behavior change, it's like, well, why aren't we all shredded? If all these things have been pumped to us at such a young age. And it's like, well, it's more than that. And it's once you actually start digging deeper, and actually looking at it, that's what I think I want to break the dieting industry.
I can love that. That's so good.
I went on for a little bit. It was a bit of a ramble there. But,
I love that. That was a great ramble. And yeah, I think anybody that listens to that, and you're right, particularly women, and I'm not saying that men can't have similar experiences. They can. It's been my overwhelming experience that it's far more prevalent in women. Almost that, like, it's rare to meet a woman who hasn't had a similar experience to that at some point in their life.
Yep.
Whereas it's rare to find a man who has, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how I would kind of describe it. And I think it's kind of interesting that you said you weren't really concerned about your weight so much until that idea gets kind of put in your head.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden you go through this whole roller coaster of feeling anxious around food, obsessed about your weight. Whereas if you cycle that back, it's not like you had a goal of getting ridiculously shredded. And I think that's really interesting as well, because now you think with the power of social media, for example, that idea is getting put in people's head all the time.
Yeah.
Like nonstop.
Yes. And I think it's particularly concerning, because like food behaviors start at such an early age. They even say like, your food behaviors and habits start at, before the age of 2, flavors and all that kind of stuff. But with social media, it's like obviously been introduced to younger girls so much earlier, which is a massive concern.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And I think that's also probably something that's really good for people to hear, that you went through that same kind of roller coaster, is the term I'll use there, of like, hey, I think like the first part's really positive of, hey, I was exercising all the time, wasn't getting anywhere until I started eating better. I think like everyone's kind of had that before as well.
Yep.
And if anyone's listening going, oh yeah, that's me, it's like, yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But then that, hey, I started eating better, but then the pendulum kind of swung way too far, of like, now I'm obsessed with what I'm eating.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, as you said, it was interesting that like it was never ever something that I was concerned about. Like I never cared how much I ate, what I ate. Never weighed. I think I weighed myself like every 6 months. Like it was never a thing until it was put into my head, and I had this expectation. I think the expectation that's sold is a really big thing that's problematic.
Definitely. And when you were saying like that expectation that, well, when you shred it and you've lost the weight, like you'll be happy.
Yeah.
At any point, did you actually get happy?
No.
Did you feel happy? Sorry.
No, I didn't actually. Like, it's funny, like when they tell you these things, and I think a lot of people have probably experienced this. Like when they tell you, after 4, 6 weeks, whatever, however long it'll be, you don't really think about that portion of time during. And what's happening there. And no, like I got to the end and I don't even remember my outcome, to be honest. I think I lost a couple of centimeters, maybe. Do you know what happened? All I thought about was the last day getting my measurements done, because I had a list of foods that I was planning to binge. And Max, I can guarantee you know what happened. I binged over a week on these things that I would normally eat occasionally, but because I hadn't eaten them, I got massive blocks of Marvelous chocolate.
Oh, yeah,
and I had them I didn't want to share them with my husband. I got chips, I sat in bed and I ate, and like and everything came back on, and probably a little bit more. I was bloated for days, and then like, I don't know, like no. Nothing of what I thought would happen would happen. Nothing about it was enjoyable. And as I said, anxieties were created, obsessions were created. I didn't enjoy going out because of the food thing. And yeah, I couldn't imagine what it would be like, for people who had done that multiple times. Yeah,
I think that is really interesting. Especially, obviously, you didn't know then what you know now, but you still knew more than the average person, right, about exercise and diet and nutrition and stuff, and it still happened.
Yes.
So then you're right, like if somebody goes through that over and over and over again, what kind of damage is that doing long term? I think we know what kind of damage it does long term because we see it every single day.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what we work with a lot of the time. And I think it's why, I get very, let's use the word passionate, on the topic sometimes, because it's like you can look at it and say, oh, it's all good for someone to go and do like a weight loss challenge and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, okay, but if you see the back of that and you see like what's happened to somebody who's done every single weight loss challenge, and then they genuinely feel like they've just completely failed and the problem's with them, like that's really where the problem lies, I think. Well, that's how I feel anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I suppose it's like, a reinforcement that I can't do it and it is me, and like, I I don't know. As I keep as I keep saying, like you do get sold this expectation because it's like you see someone that's done it on the marketing and all that kind of stuff, and you might have a friend that's done it as well, that's done really well, but then like what happens after that? And I think like it's a thing that it's kind of like, oh, it's my fault. Why can't I do it? May I say this? Not great. But, you're a piece of earth. Why can't you do it? Why isn't your willpower strong enough?
Yeah, maybe it's not willpower.
Hey.
No, I think that's, and Carl and I mentioned this in a previous episode. I'm pretty sure, but we were talking about like before and afters, and we were like, we don't care. Show us your afters.
Yes.
That's what I want to say. I'm
Yes.
like, I don't care what happened in your 8-week fat loss challenge. I care like where's that person at 6 months later.
Yeah.
Show me that.
Yeah.
Then maybe I'll be like, okay, great, high five, I'm impressed. But
Yeah.
that's really where the battle is. That's good. Actually, I didn't know. Like, obviously, I knew a little bit of that, but I didn't know all of that.
About what the?
No, like that backstory that you shared there. Like,
yeah.
I think it's interesting when you're like, I don't remember the outcome, but clearly you remember the anxiety. Like,
and the binge.
Yeah, and the binge.
I remember the binge.
Mission accomplished. And yeah, I've certainly done similar things in my time. So I think, like, if anyone's listening to this, I've got a decent background in fitness and nutrition, so do you. But we still fucked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
if you fucked it up before you're listening to this, then please don't feel bad.
And I'm sure you're the same, where I still have days where my old habits creep back in.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's little things, and obviously we're more aware.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, probably shouldn't be doing that consistently. Like, let's rein it in. But yeah, it's not like every day's perfect. And I guess off the back of that, that makes a lot of sense because, ever since I've known you, and even like what you've gone down to study, like it's been, obviously fitness, there's that, but then there was this clear interest with nutrition and then a clear interest with psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm kind of working backwards there, it's like, okay, you were working out, always been sporty, had the trainer. When you started cleaning up what you were eating and eating better, great, you saw better results. That kind of explains why you'd be interested in nutrition. Then it's like, I went and did this shred challenge and like found myself really anxious, overwhelmed, unhappy, and then binged like most more off the back of it. Well, that makes a lot of sense in terms of like, well, why are you so focused now on the psychology aspect as well, and like the behaviors associated with it?
Yep.
So when did you start, I guess, off the back of that? So after you spent a week in bed eating chocolate and chips, right? After that, when did you start wanting to actually like work with people and start coaching people? Was it as simple as, if I can stop someone going through that, then that's a win? Or was there like more to it?
Oh, that's a good question. It's actually interesting because when I originally started wanting to get into nutrition, I had more of a sports focus. But then, and I think back then I was a bit younger, I was frustrated at how people weren't listening to me. When I first started, it's like I was a little bit more black and white back then. And I got frustrated when I was like, well, if you want to get that, I've told you what to do it. And then after months and months of it failing, and obviously now me being a parent, having a mortgage, having a little bit more going on, I can understand these people that I used to try and help back then. And it's so much more than like just giving someone a meal plan or giving, like, it's like nutrition isn't even about nutrition.
No.
Yeah.
Like it's not. And I think we all have to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, as much as maybe you don't even need to learn it, but like you do. It's like you learn biochemistry, for example. It's like, has that ever come in handy when I've been coaching a client? Like, no. I've never had to be like, listen, let's talk about protein metabolism for a minute. Like that's not the issue, right? It's what you're talking about. It's like, I'm stressed, I've got no time, you know, it gets to like Wednesday, Thursday, I forgot to do the food shopping, or like my kid was sick, so we just ended up like stuff it, like we're doing Uber Eats, we're doing takeaway, and then because I did the takeaway, it's like, what's the point trying? Like the weeks are right off,
Yeah.
and the whole thing like unravels.
Yeah.
At no point in time was the issue like, oh, lack of biochemistry knowledge. Like that's not going to solve any of those problems.
No, and yeah, that's it. And then yeah, like I'm sure you had probably a similar. Well, what kind of made you want to get into it?
So many things, Loz.